On to the next team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, are the Steelers, this the team that Big Ben retired, but that's probably a good thing because he wasn't good last year. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league last year. But is this the season that Mike Tomlin is going to have his first losing season as a head coach? That's been that one thing on his resume. He always finds a way to be 500 or above it. But this is probably the least talented team he's had in a while. Yeah. Since the Mason Rudolph-led Steelers, which they still managed to go 500. Yeah. So because of that, do you think this is the first losing season he has as a head coach?
I'm really struggling with this one because my notes I have, until I see it, I can't believe it, right? Until it happens, I don't think that it can happen, truthfully, because of how great Mike Tomlin has been throughout his entirety of his career, a top 5 coach in the National Football League. He is the epitome of consistency. You guys mentioned it. Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, somehow, some way managed to get that roster to 500. Incredible how he could do that. But it also relied on the defense being absolutely all-world. That front seven was great. Even still, this front seven is really good.
And there's some great offensive players
for sure.
The years.
Oh, no doubt about that. But it's looking at the schedule, it's going to be insanely difficult. And I'm looking at also that their secondary is not that great. Minkah Fitzpatrick's the only name that you look at in that secondary and you give any type of respect to. Other than that, it's a bunch of hogwash, truthfully. But you have to respect TJ Watt and his impact on the game. And ultimately, that front seven is going to take some heat off of the secondary, but even still, it's not going to be enough. This one's tough for me because I really tried as hard as I could to get them to 9-8. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get there. So, unfortunately, everything that I just said, throw it away because this schedule really is just nuts.
It's brutal.
I have them losing to Cincinnati. I have them losing to New England. I have them losing to Buffalo at Buffalo. I have them losing to Tampa Bay in the Steel City. I have them losing to Miami. I have them losing to Philadelphia. I have them losing to Indianapolis. I have them losing to Las Vegas. I have them losing to Baltimore. I have them with an 8-9 record.
One thing, I love our fans. I love everything. You know, they're always showing support and everything.
Absolutely.
But the one thing I do have to say that just pisses me off every once in a while, I don't know if they don't listen to us and just listen to the record, but it was the Patriots video. We went through the Patriots schedule, how absolutely brutal it was. And the comments, all it says was, it's the Patriots. They're going to find a way to get it done and make the playoffs. It's not going to happen. It's not happening with New England, and it's not happening with Pittsburgh. These organizations have been so good for, especially the ages we are and our viewers mostly. Absolutely. They've been good our entire lives. So we just have this thought that it doesn't matter what the schedule is. It doesn't matter what the quarterback. Like, they'll find a way because it's Belichick and Mike Tomlin. Please, Steelers fans and Patriots fans, if you listen to this, go look at your team schedule and find me the 9-10 wins that you think these guys are going to get. Because this division, or not even this division, the Steelers' schedule, first of all, the division's tough. Bengals twice, Ravens twice, Cleveland twice. We'll see what happens with Deshaun. That's going to be hard. Then your out-of-division matchups at Buffalo versus Tampa, at Miami, at Philly versus New Orleans, at Indy versus Vegas. These are all playoff teams, right? They gave them this. The NFL gave them no breaks in this schedule. And you mentioned their secondary is questionable outside of Minkah, Cam Sutton, and Levi Wallace. There's nothing special there. Their front seven, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward is really great, but just lost to Fontua, retired at 29 years old. Athletic linebackers with Miles Jack and Devin Bush, but they've been disappointing first-round draft picks.
That's potential. That's going on potential.
Miles was second round.
Yep.
And it's hard for me. Like, one of the exercises I do, especially when I'm like, oh, this could go 50-50, which team has the better quarterback in these matchups? There's 2 games on the schedule that the Steelers have a better quarterback in. I think it's the Atlanta game and the Carolina game. Outside of that, they have the worst quarterback in every single matchup. I think Cincinnati sweeps them. I think Baltimore could very easily sweep them. Cleveland is the one I gave them the W2 week 3. There's probably not going to be any Deshaun. I think they could beat Jacoby Brissett. I have them going 7-10. You know, they're going to be a competitive team. They overall have a pretty solid roster. I don't know how soon Kenny Pickett starts. I really don't think it matters too much if it's Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky, unless Pickett just lights the world on fire.
I'm looking forward to Mitch, believe it or not. As weird as that sounds, I think he starts week 1.
Okay. Yeah, I have him going 7-10. I think they'll be last in the division. It's a tough road, man. I mean, you got at Cincinnati week 1. It's a tough start. Then New England, at Cleveland. I think the Jets beat them, but then after the Jets, at Buffalo, versus Tampa, at Miami, at Philly to go into the bye. It's a tough schedule for Steelers fans, but
I have them 4 losses in a row after the Jets.
I have them 5. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, after the Jets, facts. I have them a 5-game losing streak after that.
I will admit, looking at the Patriots schedule and where I had them finishing, I think it was 6-11. That's something I might regret because Patriots fans have a point. They got better, at least offensively from last year, just by adding Devontae Parker.
Oh, my God.
They did get better.
And defensively, which you were so adamant about?
Defensively is where I have my biggest question marks.
Like, can we, real quick exercise. If the Patriots were a 5 out of 10 offense last year, they got Devontae Parker. What's their offense?
They had a top 10 offense last year.
I'm just saying, like, if they were a 5 out of 10 on offense, just this hypothetical.
5.5.
I think they're still a top 15 offense, though. Like,
They're top
the
offense because they're rushing attack.
You look at not only that, but it's like the Patriots have the pieces in place offensively, great offensive line, running back tandem, tight end tandem. The receivers aren't all worldly, but they can get the job done. But the biggest factor in the Patriots, ultimately, I might be wrong about them, is that I think Mac Jones is a pretty damn good quarterback. I don't think Mac Jones is just average. I think Mac Jones has the potential to be great. I'm a very, very big fan of Mac Jones, and I've been a big fan since he was drafted. When he was drafted, I even said I wouldn't pay Dak Prescott, and I'll take Mac Jones 10th overall, and he'd be my quarterback if I was Dallas. Obviously that didn't happen, but that's how high I am on Mac Jones. And we know in this league, as long as you have the quarterback position figured out, you can win those games.
Just put everything else into
that's the reason why I might be wrong about the Patriots, because I know how good Mac Jones is, and he might be somebody that proves me wrong.
Another addition we didn't speak about was Tyquan Thornton. They picked him 50th overall. He had one of the fastest 40 times, I believe, the fastest 40 time.
I don't think he's going to be a good receiver, personally.
I don't disagree. I'm not saying he's going to be good. I'm not going to say that he's going to be bad. Just for the fact that he has that blazing speed.
At least they have a deep threat.
Exactly my point. Maybe we start to see Mac Jones let it fly downfield. He was very accurate letting the ball go. So maybe that's something to look out for.
I also think Mac Jones is really good. It's just the pieces around him are just. I mean,
those same pieces were a top 10 offense last year.
I get it, man. I 100% get it. They had a couple games they scored 50, which really kind of sparked that up. You know, one of them was against the Jets, unfortunately. In a couple games, they had like 47. You know, like it's going to even out regardless because they had a couple games where they stunk too, where they put up 10, 14 points.
I mean, I know what you mean, but on to the Steelers. It's hard to be very low on them just because they added stuff to the roster that I think it made them better, at least on paper. Mason Cole at center, James Daniels at guard, Miles Jack, Levi
Wallace. You clowned me for Mason Cole last week. You clowned me about Mason Cole.
I think Mason Cole is average. I don't think he's what you think he is.
I think he's average too.
You told me he was an all-pro caliber center.
Oh, here he goes. There's a Pro Bowler.
So, but I think the biggest addition for them is the loss of Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger was the NFL's luckiest quarterback last season. He only threw 10 actual interceptions, but he was supposed to throw 16 more, but defenders just dropped it. That's the most dropped interceptions a quarterback has benefited from since 2007, breaking Mark Sanchez's record of 15 in 2010.
Sanchez.
Yeah, and I remember that season. Sanchez statistically had a good year, but you watch those games, a lot of stuff
What year was that?
went wrong. 2010. Yeah, 2010. So because of that, I think Mitch Trubisky he can be a game manager. He's already proven that if you have the right stuff around him, he can lead you to the playoffs. He did that in Chicago 2018 when he went 12-4. And I think now Big Ben not being on the roster, it gives Matt Canada freedom to fully run his offense. He was a highly coveted coordinator coming over from college. He was a very well-respected guy. But with Big Ben being there and him being used to doing things he likes to do, Matt Canada didn't really get to implement his offense into the Steelers. So I think this year we'll see some more of that. And Pat Freiermuth even came out and said that you can just see that it's a totally different offense now without Big Ben. Matt Canada now has full control. So that's a good sign. If he is what people have said he is, then maybe he's the next, offensive guru and the Steelers surprise everybody. But it's just too many question marks. I don't trust the quarterback. I don't trust the offensive line. The secondary isn't very good. And the linebackers are talented but underwhelming.
It's potential. I agree.
Miles Jack had some good seasons in Jacksonville last year. He was one of the worst linebackers in the league. And Devin Bush has not been good.
Underwhelming.
So because of that, I just there's too many question marks. And when you don't have the quarterback in place to cover most of these question marks, I just don't have much faith in them. I think they're going to be 7-10. So, and you're right, and the schedule is pretty brutal, you know. I think the easiest games on the schedule are the Jets. You look at Atlanta and Carolina. But outside of those three games, their schedule is insanely difficult, and that's why I have them at 7-10.
I think it's fine to admit that the Steelers and the Patriots both got marginally better, but I think you also have to admit that the rest of the AFC just got a lot better. Miami made more upgrades. The Jets made more upgrades. Denver, the Chargers, the Raiders, like the list goes on and on. All these teams who made significant upgrades that the Steelers and Patriots, like, sure, they got better. They got guys who are going to improve their team, but they're not going to have as dramatic as an impact as the rest of the league.
I'm with you wholeheartedly.
I agree, but one team has Mac Jones.
And one team has Kenny Pickett.